at the full moon in Pisces. And it's a good time to talk about the moon in Pisces, natal, and transit. So the moon, as we know, is cold and moist, cool and moist. It stays around 2.5 days within every constellation or sign, and it is relating to our deep emotional and psychological needs of self nourishment. Think about the womb. And so, with the moon, uh, we we travel across the zodiac. We have a lunar return around every month. So those of you with the moon in Pisces will be having lunar returns or are having lunar returns. And this is a timestamp that kind of opens the next 28 days for you. It's also worth taking a look at the chart where your lunar return is, because it may have something you'll be dealing with for the next 28 days. And another way to look at the moon is look at new moon to full moon and full moon to new moon. So when the moon is growing, a waxing moon, we want to increase things. And we speak of manifestation in the language of increasing something. When the moon is decreasing, we want to decrease things. So we speak of manifestation in the language of decreasing something. We also use the moon in the magic because the moon is the closest to the earth and it connects the other planets to the earth. So when the moon is hard aspecting or aspecting another planet, this is also a time where you can use it to do astrological magic or talisman or a ritual where you summon both the moon and the planet that you are looking to attract, making sure that there is an aspect to the moon because the moon brings those energies, it reflects those energies and can bring them to the earth with more ease. So, moon in Pisces, with Pisces. Um, Pisces is the great vast. It's a water sign, um, a mutable water sign. And it is the great vast also in the sense of the boundaries between anything that is compartmentalized or dissolved. So, um, holding things that are more than one point of view and seeing many point of views as just facets of the same one is very Pisces. It's an experiential, emotional, um, can be related to certain psychic power because it is so close to oneness, basically. And so there can be an experience of being an empath or an experience of the boundaries dissolving. And so with Pisces, the nourishment is related to the great vast. Um, it can be a sign where you can escape because it is ruled originally by Jupiter, and Jupiter is very philosophical. It also rules children. It also rules youth. It rules both gurus, the husband, if it is Indian astrology, Vedic, and children. It's one of the rulers of children, together with Gemini and Mercury. And so, think about the inner world of a child and how this inner world of a child can um, help to cope with the harsh realities of life. So the modern ruler, and I think the modern ruler is very relevant, is Neptune. And Neptune is exactly about this very spiritual connection to oneness. It's about the dissolution of boundaries, so it is also a near death experience planet because there is a dissolution of the boundary mediumship of the boundaries between this world and other worlds. with Neptune, we can get that spiritual connection as something that is soothing. If the moon is in Pisces, then you are soothed by that spiritual connection, or you can experience that as imagination. You're soothed by imagination, daydreaming can be meaningful to you. And it can be even a situation where um, a child does not receive any of the or is born into, depending on how the moon is aspected. If the moon is harshly aspected, you can use a fantasy world to create the desired reality. Um, and that fantasy world can be a place of escape. So it can be taken into the point of escaping, dissociating, or it can be that blessed escape. Art, music, artistic expression, wearing masks. Okay, and so with the moon in Pisces, you might even find that your facial expression masks how you genuinely feel sometimes, because it is an inner world. Or on the other hand, you could be expressive if you're more of expressive type, then that inner world is expressed and people might not be able to quite grasp why are you feeling this way. Or you could be feeling, let's say the world is going through a crisis, you could be feeling it as a personal crisis because there are no boundaries. Or you could be feeling great today and you could, you know, bring this, everything is great today. um, Although the permeability can be in such that in the real world you feel world events as if it is, you know, inner. um, in but that brings you to dissociate. So that brings you to create or to escape into an alternative world, and you can express this world with with your art, with your creation, and depending on other aspects, you could be an artist. It's not so much a verbal sign, so it is a lot about the non-verbal stage. Also the moon is the pre-verbal stage, but here the Pisces is just, you know, it's a water sign. It is ruling experiences. It is ruling actually what is more difficult to express in words, which I guess is why I'm kind of trying to find the words to describe Pisces, and the words are like, how do I say that, how do I say that, because it's an experiential, um, it's experiential. Um, Although you can manage with art, with colors, with music, to um, uh, communicate, if you have Mercury there, to communicate that inner world. But that really depends on where your Mercury, how is it aspected, where your moon is, if those escapes are something that is actually nourishing and helpful for you. Um, or if those escapes are actually into a world where you could later use substance. And Pisces locations are very sensitive to substance abuse. And so you gotta be careful. You know, you much better create art, or but you may think that, oh, if I smoke, you know, this weed, or if I take this, you know, shot, then I can be more creative, well, or let go. And with Pisces, that can, because of the dissolution of boundaries, that can be destructive. So dependent how the moon is aspected, um, you might not want to you might even be so radical as not wanting to touch alcohol or to limit very much your consumption of alcohol because it alters thinking. You might not need so much, drugs or mushrooms or whatnot to have this alternative experience. You could get it from music, you could get it from painting, you could get it from observation, being by the ocean. Um, and be nourished by this inner world, this fantasy world. It is also because of Neptune, it is also one of the signs of isolation. But this is not the Saturn isolation. With Saturn, you're isolated in a way that you're either meditative or you retreat into yourself. With Pisces, the isolation is loss of connection or contact with the real world. You dissociate from the world. It's not so much that you decide to meditate and observe and immerse in the world, as with Saturn, uh, but that you actually escape to another world and you immerse in that world, and so the connection to this world is can be lost. Um, so this is the way you would experience loss of connection in Pisces. And because it is an experiential and because it feels the real world and escapes from that, so there can be an experience of feeling very depressed and alternatively feeling very high. And then, of course, wanting to chase. And the contrast between the emotional experiences can cause the native to want to look for the high. And this is what can cause people to take drugs. Because if they're just daydreaming and that's that, that's okay. But then sooner or later they have to work, and then they might think that if they take this drug or if they take this, if they drink alcohol, they will be able to maintain this excitatory state of dissociation during their daytime job. And they may find that the labor market is not so fitting to their personality. Yes, this is one of the moons that could be, the Saturn return club, because Saturn requires you to mature, to be in contact with the real world, and this is exactly the sign that is, it's not opposite in location, but it is exactly the sign that is not of this world. Okay, Pisces is also the transition to another world. So this is where addictions can come up, and in relations with, because the moon is also attachments and relations. So this is also when a person may find it difficult to be alone, because they merge with something. Either they merge with the fantasy world as a child, but then if they find out, or they can project or have a fantasy because it's very fantasy like, um, depending on how Neptune is aspected and where is Neptune. If Neptune is aspecting, harshly aspecting the moon or Venus or Jupiter, this can be a person that falls in love and then projects their ideal to their partner, and then they're heartbroken and feel betrayed when that ideal does not come to be, or they may try to caretake another human being instead of caretaking their own needs because they don't want to deal with the sadness within. Um, so they might need actually a buffer of something in order to feel their own feelings. They can feel the sadness of all the world around them, but be detached from their own feelings or dissociate from their own feelings, because this difficulty is too close to home. And then they might need something that can help them feel their feelings, but within a buffer. And so the the dealing with anything narcotic, because Neptune rules narcotics, the dealing with anything narcotic has to be very cautious. The type of work that they do has to be very artistic. They can do the most mundane. They can do even engineering or being, they can do the most like practical thing. They can do high tech sometimes, but they need a place for creativity. Something either about the design or the creative thought, or to download those things from like science fiction or fantasy, or to have a relation to the fantasy world. That can be techniques that bring them to this reality with the other worlds, with the support of the other worlds. It has to be allowed. If it is not allowed, if it's, let's say, Pisces in the sixth, and it is not allowed at the workplace, or the moon is harshly aspected, they they may become ill. Because of the tendency to addictions, the ailment can be emotional, like depression, or manic depression, or there's even suicide ideation, because um, that the contrast between the worlds and the experiences that they need to nourish the soul and the experience of the harsh realities of life seems so vast. It's not, because those were, if they escape enough, they may find that they tend to feel the things that they were running away from in those other worlds, or that they may crave a certain experience that they might feel shame for, that is actually depriving them of the power that they have. Um, but this is actually an experience that where they get to process a certain wound. So a certain buffer is needed. People who dissociate, this is general. If people dissociate from the real feelings, to say, oh, you need to sit and feel your emotions, there's a reason that they dissociate. So they may need help. It can even be a drug that they take that helps them for to get the buffer so that they can sleep, or so that they can feel their feelings. It can be something artistic, or artistic expression where they can express something and then to the point where they can let it out. Um, it can be motion and dancing if you have like a Mars there. Um, then you might want to get physical, or express that, or stamp the feet, or having feet related dances or whatnot. But the moon alone does not, mm, even though it's a mutable water sign, the moon alone is how you nourish yourself emotionally, and this is not a physical sign. It's rather an ethereal sign. So this is natally. By transit, um, it's only 2.5 days. And this is the time where you can enjoy fantasy world. You can retreat. It's one of those days where you might want to plan a retreat. Okay, if the moon will be aspecting, this might be even a time where you would do an art workshop, or take the time to paint, or listen to music, or create music, or sing, or be around the ocean. Um, it might not be the perfect time to practice being with your feeling, because you may feel that your feelings are overwhelming at this time if you're more sensitive to this energy. Um, but this is a time where you can experience great joy or sudden sorrow, and may not be so much in control of your emotions, but not in the sense of you can be enraged so much as you can just feel that, so either sudden joy, sudden sadness, um, depending on how you feel. The Pisces rules the feet, so getting a reflexology, feet massage, pampering your feet, feet bath, feet jacuzzi. It's a great time for these things. That can also nourish, your natal moon, and kind of kind of a retreat, or kind of something where you do creative stuff, or you listen to creative stuff. Um, and remember, it's only 2.5 days. You want to pamper your feet now, because it will pass soon into Aries. So yes, we also have the full moon um, tomorrow, I believe, depending on the region you are. In Pisces, I might do a full moon video. I'm not sure if I want to do a full moon video. 'Cause, like, these videos, they last. Whenever you listen to them, they're still relevant. They're still going to give you value. But then a full moon video is like you're listening to it, and then it's relevant for the next 15 days or so. So I'm Talishir on Twitter, Shiliambot on Instagram, and I do readings. You can contact me on social media. Let me know if you have the moon in Pisces. How do you self nourish? Did any of this help you? Did you resonate with that? Is there something that I forgot to say that you would like to say, or if it's something that you do not identify? Then let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.